Hello, good friends. It's the Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute. And today is special. It's specifically special. Why is it special? Because we have somebody very, very special in the studio. And the amazing, phenomenal Dr. Kenisha Williams is not a stranger to us. Who is she? For 22 years, Dr. Kenisha L. Williams served in public education as a teacher, principal, and leader of DEI. 2 years after her IMC, which is the International Maxwell Certification, she transitioned into her Maxwell business and Transformation Training and Development LLC as a full-time speaker, trainer, and coach. She is passionate about transformation and helping others transform their lives. Dr. Kanisha has received Spirit Awards for being goal oriented, inspirational, and spirited. She received two bachelor's degrees, a master's in education, an accelerated master's degree, and a doctorate in organizational leadership, followed by a second doctorate in ministry with a 4.0 GPA. Dr. Kenisha quips, I love the Maxwell family and thank God for all of the resources that literally helped me to launch my own business from scratch. Dr. Kenisha immediately joined mentorship on day two of her first IMC, not really understanding what it involved, but she credits that move to being one of the best decisions of her life. She also joined the executive program within a year to gain access to more materials, allowing her to add value, higher value. Yes. Dr. Kenisha has served in the President's Advisory Council with the Mastermind Committee, loving every opportunity to support team members. Experiencing the transformation trip to Papua New Guinea was life changing, and achieving God given significance is what Dr. Kenisha is going after. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome to the studio the amazing Dr. Kenisha Williams. Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
We are so excited to have you. And friends, if you're there, you're watching at this time, what we want you to do is listen, you don't want to regret not sharing this, okay? You want to share it right now with friends and family and colleagues. I mean, the ones you really like and the ones you do not like that much, share it with everybody. Dr. Kanisha is in the house. Okay, it's going to be power packed. It's going to be inspirational. It's going to be energizing. It's going to be every moment on your feet or at the edge of your seat. Okay, so Dr. Kanisha Williams, you are here with Transformational Leadership, and how have you been doing though?
Oh my gosh, Susan, just wonderful. First of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me back again, year 3. You and your husband with the work that you're doing for this world. I honor you, my friend, and so honored for your invitation back. And a lot has happened. I was in, like you said, public education for 22 years, and now I'm full-time in my business, speaking, coaching, training, writing books, adding value, ministry, and marketplace all at the same time.
I remember the first time we talked, you were in that transition, you were in that process. And I'm so happy that this is happening and you have launched into this dream life of yours, and
Yes.
You are affecting lives and adding value, uh, all while enjoying every bit of it.
Yes, yes, and yes.
So today we are talking transformational leadership, and I have just so many questions. We're going to be basing our conversation off of this book. Oh, you have your copy. I got my copy off of Amazon. We're going to put the link in the chat for those of you that would like. Everybody should get this book. It is a great resource for everyone that wants to grow in leadership, everybody that's already in a leadership position and you want to thrive in your leadership position. It's a great resource. So this is Transformational Leadership by Dr. Kenisha Williams, and that's what we are going to be using as our guide for conversations today. And In the book, you talk about journeying through the phases and stages of leadership. And I was just curious, like, this whole leadership thing, does it have phases and stages? Do you want to speak into that, ma'am?
Listen, yes. Depending on when you started leading, whether it was at 19 or 29 or 39, I hope that you would not be the same type of leader 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line. So phases and stages is indicative that, check this out, the leader is the first consumer of growth. So yes, you transition. Or, well, let me say this. We should transition as leaders with what our fundamental ideologies are. Where I started, my friends out there, is not where I am today. And the very fundamental things that I thought leadership was.
Wow. So, what are some of those stages and phases that you have been able to identify, which you can share with our friends or viewers, so they can know exactly what we are talking about and how they can maybe situate themselves?
So one of the first phases, so I'm from the South, Louisiana. Shout out to the dirty South, New Orleans, NOLA. So I'm from the South, and really in the South, it's very autocratic when it comes to leadership. That's a part of the book. And I mean, it's yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. There's a high level of respect for authority. So in my mind, the way I was raised is you respect leadership. Your leader tells you to do something and you do it. You don't question, you don't bat your eyes, you don't buck up against authority. So there's just a profound respect. So when I begin my leadership phase, I thought, okay, I'm the leader now. So if I'm the leader, I'm going to tell you what to do, and then you're going to be happy and go out and do it. And that worked. So I thought, when I had maybe lower level leadership positions, but I got to one position and folks were like, we don't know who you are, first of all. And we don't respond like that, second of all. And my whole world was flipped, not upside down, really, for leadership. It was flipped right side up. And so it took me some phases and stages of learning and growing myself. But I hit, really, to be honest with you, a brick wall, because I thought, I say, you do, and you're happy. And that is not at all what leadership is about. Here's what Dr. John Maxwell quips. He says that he talks about 5 levels of leadership. The first level of leadership is positional, where we just feel like people have to honor us because of position. And that's how I led my leadership life for years. I just expected, because I had a title, people would listen and be happy. That is not, that's a form of leadership, but it's the lowest form of leadership.
Wow. So if the lowest form of leadership is the positional and title leadership, what would you say is like the most advanced form of leadership?
Transformational, right? So the word transform, when we look at transformational, but the base word is transform, it means to make a thorough or dramatic change in character, form, or appearance. So when we're looking at transformational leadership, really we're looking at how can, first of all, I transform myself as a leader continuously with intentionality. So how can I model that I'm a person that's going to be a person of growth? When we can do that first, then we become the model for the people who serve on our teams. So transformational leadership, there's so many prongs to it. It means that we look at other people from a place that we know that, check this out, they need to transform. So it's not, you don't listen to me, you're out of here. We know that everyone is on their own trajectory of their own growth. And so as a transformational leader, I'm looking at, okay, where's this person? Person A is here. Person B is here. Person C is here. And I don't treat person A, B, and C with equality per se. I treat them with something called equity. And equity is you give people what they need to succeed, because we're all starting from a different place. So leaders, as you're transforming, one of the first prongs is know that your people are not all in the same place. So you've got to get to know them and find out what they need. And then we want to give them what they need so they can be successful in whatever their job classification is.
Wow. So, how can a leader grow themselves to become this transformational leader?
Mm-hmm. The first thing is know that you need to do it. and listen, Susan, I'm not being facetious. Like, really, the first step is self-awareness. And self-awareness is I even have the wherewithal to know that I need to grow. And can I be honest with you? I didn't have that all the time. What I had was getting degrees, as you heard Susan read about all of these degrees that I had. But getting a degree is not the same as adding value and growth. Listen to me. I have a doctorate degree and two doctorate degrees, but one of them is in organizational leadership from Brandman University, who's now, I believe, UMass. And even with that, it doesn't mean that I was going to be an effective leader if I did not understand that I've got to be intentional about growing. Leaders, what's your growth plan? Like, how do you know you're growing? It can't just be because I'm leading. So how have you grown in the last year? Well, I added another year to my leadership. No way. What books have you read? What feedback have you received? What mentorship program are you in? What mentors do you have for your finances, for your leadership growth, for your personal? Like these are all prongs that will be indicative of leadership or leaders growing themselves. It is with intentionality, family. And I'm telling you from the hard way, because I've been on the other side thinking I was growing because I was degreed up from being very intentional and growing myself.
All right, Dr. Kenisha, you have been saying this already. Okay. But for my sake and for the sake of some of our friends who are listening and who will listen to this, can you tell us how a leader can consciously, intentionally assess where they are at?
Yes.
In their growth journey. And yeah, let's start from there.
Yes.
So they can know how to grow, what next to grow with.
Beautiful. So on the book, or in the book, if we look at page 94, it talks about this notion called the Johari's principle and Johari's principle. And essentially, when these guys were doing this research, they talk about 4 windows. And there's a window that's called the window. It's the public self, right? It's the top left. It's the area of free activity. Everyone knows about that. About you, somebody else knows you. That's clear, right? We know how we manifest. But there's another window that only you know. That's more of your private window, and other people don't know. That's the stuff that we keep hidden in the closet, the secret stuff. But then there's a window that is called the unknown, where you don't know, they don't know, and that's what we need the Lord for. But here's the window I want to talk about. I want to talk about the window that is the window that's called your blind spot. It's the window that everyone else around you sees, but you think that you are rocking it. You think that what the young people say, you're killing the game, and you are doing the exact opposite. So one of the ways is to really be intentional about seeking out what are my blind spots. Specifically, how do I do that? You get feedback from those around you, and you do that in a 3-pronged way. This is also in the book, 360-degree feedback. So that means that anybody that would be above me, my superior. So if you're working in a job in a corporation, then you typically will have a superior. Then you get someone that's on your same level, your coworkers, your colleagues, and then you get people that are serving you on your team, and you begin to ask them a list of questions. And when you ask them, that's called feedback. And when you ask them, prepare your heart, because they're going to give you honest feedback. But one of the ways that you want to set yourself up is you want to tell them, particularly the people that are at your same level and below you, that I really am trying to grow myself. I need your honest feedback. And when you give it to me, I'm not going to defend or deflect or deny. So important. I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to deflect. I'm not going to deny. And you take it. You
Mhm.
take whatever, because there's a perspective. Remember Johari's principle, Johari's window, and that fourth window called your blind spot, and you're just not going to see it from the eyes of another beholder. Now, there are many different forms that you can do to do that. You can do it electronically. I'm going to give you a cheap way to do it for free. Now, here's 4 questions. I want you to write these down. Question number 1, when you're getting feedback, what is it like to be on the other side of the table from Kenesha? You put your name in there and you go silent. You say nothing and you sit and you take it. Now, for me, I do this over the phone for a few reasons. 1, I can close my mouth because I'm a talker. And when I want to deflect, deny, and defer, then I close my mouth. So I do it over the phone. I don't do face-to-face. And then I type their answers. Why? Because they're going to give you a lot of good data and feedback if you prep them that that's what you want. And you're not going to catch it all. So I'm typing and I'm saying nothing. Did you hear what I'm saying? I know for those of you who know me, you're like, that's hard to believe because you always have something to say. No. And these moments I say nothing. So first question, and I give this over to Dr. John C. Maxwell. I got these questions from him. What is it like to be on the other side of the table and then fill your name in? Question number 2. What do you see as my strengths? This is a feel-good question. But not just that, sometimes people really struggle. Sometimes as leaders, right? Because it can feel lonely at the top. We really don't even know what our own leadership strengths are. People will tell you if you ask. And then you just write. Same thing, you go quiet and you write. Third question, what do you see? And you can word this a couple of different ways. What do you see as my areas of weakness? If you don't like that, what do you see as the areas of growth? If you don't like that, what do you see as areas where I have massive potential? And then you can ask them, what are your suggestions on how I can improve in these areas? It doesn't mean you're going to take their ideas, and they may not have some, but they always do. I've done this process. I'm not telling you something, folks, that I'm not doing myself. I've done this process multiple times over years with exactly the same structure, and people will always have some ideas on how they want you to get better. Because check this out, as you and we get better as leaders, it changes the entire environment of the teams that we're working with. So question number 4, and this one I added in. So question number 4, is there anything else that you would like to share with me at this time that you haven't been able to share in the other 3 questions? This is sort of like a come one, come all. And then you can catch those final thoughts. Okay. So again, you want to set this structure up. I suggest you do it via phone so you don't have to worry about fixing your face because they're going to tell you something you don't like. I suggest you prep them. Do not go up to someone and ask them these questions and expect an on-the-spot answer. You prep them. You set the context. Here's what you're doing. Here's why you're doing. Here's how you're going to be doing it. And you give them the questions first and set an appointment with them to do it later. Why? Because you want to give them some time to think, because you really want good data. You don't want them coming off the cuff. You really want to receive the impact of what they're saying to you. And then at the end, you say thank you and hang up. You don't go into conversation because you're going to begin to what? Deny, defer, deflect, and defend. Don't do that in the conversation. If you are a talker like me, I prep my people and I say, so specifically, I am not going to be talking like I normally do. I don't want you to be concerned. I don't want you to think that I'm upset. I am intentionally not talking because I want to keep my heart open to fully receive what you're saying to me. If you set this up correctly, I promise you, you're going to get some good data and some good 360-degree feedback from those who are in your life. Now, you may say, well, what if they don't like me? Good. Find some. In fact, I suggest it. Find at least one person who vehemently opposes your leadership. Why? Because they're going to probably give you the best data. And if they're thinking that, even sometimes the people who like you might be thinking some of the things that they're thinking. The other thing that does is it begins to build relationship. Because if somebody knows that you know and they know that there's a bumping of the head, and then you still go and ask them, it's going to cause them to say, wow, why would they ask me? And we know there's perhaps contention, but they're gonna think, and they're gonna give you feedback, my friends, as leaders, that you probably need to know if you want to be a transformational leader. Now, if you just want to stay at the positional leadership level, then don't do any of this. Just have your title and keep doing what you've been doing. But if you're really wanting to grow and go to the next level, that's a process of 360-degree feedback.
Listen. If I were you, I would put in the chat, #transformational leadership. Let Dr. Kenisha Williams know you are here right now. Okay. Let her know you are here. Maybe you're watching after the live is over. Put it in the chat so we'll know you were here, because this is very, very, very transformational right now. And like I said from the beginning, you're going to regret if you don't share this. Okay. So you want to share it right now. You want to do that like right now. And also get ready with your questions, because Dr. Kenisha is here. We may not have her again for a very long time. So today she's here. Get ready with your questions, and you can ask your question anytime. Dr. Kenisha, when we talk about leadership, there is always ideas of power that come into play. Do you want to just comment on that?
Yeah. So yes, leadership comes with power. So I'm a believer. I'm a woman of God, woman of faith. And so there's a caution with power, because with power comes responsibility. And if we don't, check this word out, steward, STEWAR, if we don't steward leadership and power correctly, our kingdom or leadership can fall, or worse than that, it stands. And then everyone on our team, or at least some people on our team, are affected in a very negative way. So I've been bred and taught, basically biblically, but also for some good mentors, that be mindful of how you receive power. God warns me and other believers that really he's got the ultimate power. I'm so clear on that. I'm so clear that he ultimately, for my life, whatever you believe, but for my life, has ultimate power. For my leadership, I'm blessed. I have a growth plan, but really the anointing comes from him. So anytime my little head tries to blow up, and I'm like, boom, anytime that begins to manifest, I know that there can be a great fall. The scripture says pride comes before a fall, and a fall comes after pride. So I don't want any parts of that. When we're leading, that means we're leading people. And for me, I want to be a good steward of people. Now, was I always? Absolutely not. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit, but it was unintentional. I don't ever want to abuse and use and then discard people because of my own go do this. Because you're opposed to it. Go ahead.
Because you mentioned it, let's just get in there. What's like the biggest leadership challenge you have faced as a growing leader in your journey?
Leading me. Being unaware of me. It's called self-leadership. Fully showing up in the space of leading people with my Louisiana leadership ideology, positional leadership, and was clueless. My mom is always, I've got a strong personality, as you can see. Love people happy, but man, I can go. Which is not the same as what you were saying, just powers. They're different. So I can just go because I'm trying to get a task done. It's my style. It's my DNA. I want to be efficient. I want to get things done. Not knowing that with the goodness of that in my heart, trying to be efficient, I was offending in lieu of trying to be efficient.
Wow.
I'm a disc consultant, personality trained, and there's something called task oriented and people oriented. And
Yes.
I am people oriented until there's a task. And when there's a task, baby, it's all about task. And I would have gotten feedback from my mom, my entire life. Can you just slow down? We're walking in the store and I'm on an aisle, someone else is on an aisle, and I'm walking, and I bet you I'm not moving. So if you don't move, we're just gonna bump, right? I'm getting stuff done. And then she would, but that's mom. So we don't listen to mom.
Right.
And then I got
Who
other
listens to
leadership
mom?
positions. Yeah, other leadership positions throughout my life. I remember being in college. I was the assistant captain of my color guard team. And so, I'm doing my thing. And I remember the adult leader over us said, Kenesha, like nobody else is doing it as hard as you are. I need you to bring it down. And I could not understand why you're trying to pull me down and not let me live my best life. I'm a leader. I'm trying to bring people up. And the word was, there were some high school girls that came to this color guard camp. And I was so hard on them, leading them. I was like, if you can't do it, get out. Now, again, I didn't know. I thought I was doing a good thing because the task was you have to learn this routine. Then I began to get other leadership positions in my church, over the dance team, over the children's church, over the cleaning ministry. And I had the dance team there one night until like midnight. And I said, you're not leaving until we get this right. We had been there, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. Just unaware, Susan and audience. I thought I was doing the right thing. You make sure that is excellent. You do what you need to do. It doesn't matter if people are tired. It doesn't matter if you're hungry or if you need to use the bathroom. We are practicing right now, folks. Let's go.
Wow.
Unaware, family.
Wow.
Totally lack of awareness and wondering why you're looking at me like that. And you haven't gone to execute what I just said. The folks are like, we've been here for 10 hours. That's why they never said it, because I was the leader.
Right.
That's called Jahari's principle, fourth window blind spot. That's what that's called, my friends.
Wow. So did all of this come to light as you did the 360 assessment, leadership assessment? And what was your first reaction when you discovered that you actually had all these flaws as a leader? And how did you approach that?
So phases and stages. This was not this. Folks, as we're becoming transformational leaders, this is not a one and done. This is not you get a 360 feedback and then I'm healed. Doesn't work like that. I mean, when I say phases and stages, I mean years, not even a year. I mean years of feedback from my mom, from my family, from my pastors, from leaders. And then I remember having a mentor that told me something and I vehemently opposed it. Like, no, not agreeing with that. I'll let you say what you're saying, but in my mind, I'm rebutting. In my mind, remember, defend, deflect, deny. In my mind. So when I first began to get feedback, not those 4 questions, other type of feedback, those questions came along in my more mature, transformed leadership. I'm like, this is how I'm wired. Like, what are you talking about? Something's wrong with you all. If you all would get with the program, then we wouldn't be having these issues. So what you're trying to do is tell me that the way God created me is not the way I should be. And because you're saying that, I vehemently oppose. I'm in opposition. So my first phase and getting feedback was I was in complete opposition. I'm like, you can say what you say. In fact, what I'm going to do now is be more of who I am.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen, listen, that's Dr. Kenesha Williams, y'all. And I told you, I warned you from the beginning. I told you, you don't want to regret that you did not share this. So it's time for you to catch up. Go ahead and share this as wide as possible. All right. And then when we come back, Dr. Kenisha will continue. We are getting all these deep insights from Transformational Leadership, which is a book that's available on Amazon and in other spaces. We are going to put this information in the chat for you, but there is one thing you can do for us right now. Put in the chat hashtag transformation. Let's do that. Hashtag transformation. Do that right now, and we'll be right back. Oh, if you have a question, make sure you put your question too.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
Dr. Kenisha, I was just thinking that since leadership is all about people, what would you tell us on transformational leadership and relationships?
Ooh, how much time do we have? So again, the relationship area is an area that I lacked. So I was raised, we loved people, but you don't go outside of your house and try to get endorsements from people. My mom and my dad who raised me was really good about that. So, and then you don't go to work and school and tell your business. And then you don't go there to try to build a relationship. So in my leadership, it's like, I'm not, you can know my name is Kenisha Williams, and you can know what I'm going to ask you to do and go do that. Now I'm going to smile and you're not going to get to know me behind. No, we don't do that. So in my leadership, particularly when I began to be an assistant principal and principal, which was 15 years of my career, combined together, those two positions. At the beginning, it was like, they knew a little bit about me. When I say little, I mean what they had to know. I remember one of my teachers asked me when I was a principal the first year, and this is in the book, she said, how old are you? I think I was 29 going on 30. So I was fairly young with a more mature and veteran staff, right?
I read that in your book. And the response you gave this veteran staff was, old enough to be the principal.
Oh, God, I did say that.
That's what you did.
And I'm not proud of it. And I said it with a little bit of flair, right? Not too much, but a little bit. Because again, check this out. I thought you were challenging me. And don't challenge me. Don't do that. Right? Again, all not from a negative place, but just unaware. Because remember, I grew up, you don't challenge leaders. You listen, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir. So you're questioning me, and now you're questioning my age. So now I've got to make sure that because we don't know each other like that, and we're probably never going to do that. Wow. And it was just a wrong ideology. Relationships, folks, are critical to you being a leader. I'm not saying you have to be best friends. But certainly, the more you know about your people within reason, and they know about you, we see the humanistic side. Mm-hmm. Remember, I already alluded to equity. When I know Susan a little bit more and she's on my team, I can really give Susan what she needs, because Susan is going to manifest differently than David, who's going to manifest differently than Alicia, than Jerlyn, than Leonard, than George. So I had a wrong mindset, Susan, about that. Relationships are critical to us knowing our people, but then letting them get to know who we are. You want me to go deeper?
Sure.
Let's go deeper on that. I was able to, in phases and stages and years of mistakes, be able to have such a relationship where I begin to be intentional about that and know the styles of my people.
Okay.
So now giving them personality styles. Okay. Oh, this is why. So I'm an ID. So as you can see, excited, but I'm also like, listen, you don't ever have to worry about what I'm thinking, because I'm going to tell you. You don't ever have to worry about me being shy and coy. It's just probably never going to happen. Right? But I had people on my staff that were. And me coming in, somebody the other day on Facebook put Hurricane Kenisha. I don't know what to tell you about that, but that's really kind of how I am. I blow in, right? I that's how I am. So imagine me blowing in with excitement And like this, and you've got somebody that has a different personality style, S.
Wow.
And they're more reserved, and they're more of a listener, and they don't like confrontation. And I don't like confrontation, but I bet you if we're going to go, let's just go. And I promise you I'm going to win. Right? So imagine these different personalities. And then as a leader, I expect you to be like me. And if you're not, in my head, and again, I'm not proud of this, but I'm just telling you the reality so I can help you. In my head, I'm wondering why you're not more like me. If you would move quicker, talk faster, be more decisive, then we can get this done quicker. I used to think that about people. So if I'm thinking that about you, how can I really properly serve you and give you what you need if in my mind you need to be more like me? No, it was a wrong paradigm. Go ahead.
You just opened the window to another conversation which I'd like for us to have, which is on the role of the leader. You said, if I don't actually know you, how can I serve you? The idea of the leader being the one that's supposed to be served by people, and the leader being the one that's supposed to serve the people. Where do we find this balance? Where do we find it? How do we find it?
Yeah. So again, it goes back to that power.
Yes.
So it goes back to the leadership power. So one, I think we have to ask, why are you in leadership? Like why? Like, what's the initial? Like, what's the point? Why did you go in? For me, my motives were pure. So I can't, with all that you're hearing me say transparently, I never had a negative motive for something to be done, to be consumed on myself. Still, I was ignorant. Still, I had a faulty foundation, but never to be consumed on myself. So I would say, what's your why in leadership? And then what's your motive? Right. Because if your motive is about, boy, I knew I was going to make it here. I knew I was going to get to that corner office, and Jimmy, Susan, Alicia, George, Leonard, here's what you need to do. Go serve me.
Wow.
That's a different infrastructure than, wait a second. I serve. I don't just bark orders. I am actually here to serve you, because listen to this, as I serve you, I empower you, then you go out and you're empowered to serve the business, the church, the nonprofit, the organization, right? The community and government. But it's a paradigm switch if you don't already embrace that. That my primary job is to serve you. Now, my serving you is going to look different most times than how you're serving the organization, right? So even let's say I'm at McDonald's and I'm the manager. I may not be out on the front line, but if I build you up and I'm taking care of rowdy customers, then I'm serving you. Right. When I was a principal at a school site, I didn't answer the phones out in the front office. That wasn't my service, but I served the people that were in my, well, after I learned it, let's just be honest, right? I didn't start serving, but after phases and stages and becoming transformed, I'm like, wait a second, if I don't serve these girls in the office, then they're not going to fully be able to be empowered and ignited to serve.
Yes. And I have a question, but before we ask that question, if the video is good on your end, because we have a comment in the chat from Marianne that says video has stopped after a few seconds of tuning in. If the video is still good for you, I want you to put a yes in the chat for me right now, please. Everybody go ahead and do a yes. Let's see how many yeses we get. Let's do yeses in the chat. Let's know where we are. Okay, do a yes in the chat if the video is good and you can actually see us and hear us. Thank you very much. Let's keep doing the yeses. Let's see how many people we are good. All right, please go ahead and do the yeses for us, please. Dr. Kenisha, what are some ways leaders can actually serve the people they work with?
Yeah, so be intentional about empowering them. So in human resources, the nomenclature they say is your most valuable resource is not your copy machine. It's not the vehicle to transport the physical items. It's people. About 85% of resources, generally speaking, should be spent on people. So what is that? What are the implications of that for me as a leader? That means that where's my funding going? Is it going just because I need the latest product to be able to market? Or is it that I'm investing in my people? Whether that's, listen, salary, insurance benefits. People work a whole lot better when they get paid well. I'm just telling you.
And I agree 100%.
So investing in them. But here's the other part of investing. Do you have discretionary budgetary dollars that you give to them to go to conferences, to be trained, to have workshops? Are you training them? I didn't say having a weekly meeting of informational items that you can really put in an agenda and send out to them via email. I mean intentionality about training them in their skill set. That's called intentionality around growth. So that's, to me, one of the biggest investments, because that's how you empower your people. Is giving them what they need to be able to grow and become better. The other piece of empowering them is, are you giving them feedback? I don't mean at your annual evaluation. If you are only giving feedback once a year, this is going to be strong. So brace, you failed as a leader. If they only get feedback, so what happens the other 12 months of the year? What happens 3 months in? Whether that's feedback positive or negative, people need to be satiated with truth. And there's a way to give truth. So if it's great truth, don't you think we need to hear that? Have you ever had a day where you felt like, oh my gosh, like if I get one more compliment today, I've had too many. I've had too many compliments.
Wait. Hold on, Dr. Kenisha. You just said the word compliment, because I discovered that it's easier to criticize. It's like a more natural tendency to criticize than to give compliments and praise and affirmations for other people.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, the places you've worked at, but I think that it's very, very obvious in many businesses, in many companies, like the natural tendency just kicks in. Like when something is wrong, everybody has something to say.
Yes.
But when things are right, everybody's just like, oh yeah, it's okay.
Yep.
We're all doing good. And tell us about, like, where is the praise of those words of, I appreciate you. Those words of, you are just an amazing person. Those words of, hey, this is a pen. I just got this special pen just for you. Where is the place of all of that? And can that be too much? Can that be too much?
First of all, the place starts here in us as a leader. That's the first place. Because remember what I said, if I'm going around thinking, okay, this person I can rock with because, you know, I know they get the task done, but this person, these people over here, first of all, you've got to value people in your head. John Maxwell says you put a 10 on everyone's head, whether they've done anything or not. That's a paradigm that as leaders we can embrace. That I'm going to automatically put a 10. You don't have to earn it with me. You just get it. I struggle with that. I embrace it now, but I struggle with that at the beginning, because I'm like, what if they're not a 10? What if they're performing at a 2? And the problem is you're not a 10. You're performing at a 2. Think about yourself. When you know you struggle and you haven't done your best, and all your supervisor and your boss did was nag, and they never gave you compliments, how much did you want to perform? Drop the mic. How did you feel when your parents constantly never gave you praise? It's the same with others. Now, if someone is struggling, I'm not saying lie, but is there anything kind about them? Oh my gosh. Hey, Susan, I'm happy that you're here. If you said you're not happy, then get happy, because people can pick up on your energy. So to me, that now starts in our minds as leaders. There's something that somebody's done on some day that you can give them some type of compliment. I'm not even saying buy something, but hey, Susan, hey, thank you so much for showing up today. If that's all you can say, if you feel like you cannot conjure up, muster up, figure out anything else, just say, Susan, thank you for coming.
Wow.
The better feedback to give is something that is anchored in a specific activity. Hey, Susan, So negative, something negative. Hey, Susan, hey, I want to meet with you. Susan comes in. Hey, Susan, thank you so much. You've been faithful. I mean, you're here every day. Your attendance is at 100%. I just want to thank you for that. I do have two concerns. So during the meeting, here's what I noticed about you. Say the concerns. So here's my plan of action. Here's what I would like to see you do, Susan, because listen, I believe in you. I want your success. And I know that success comes when I can give you hard, honest feedback. But no, Susan, I'm rooting for you. In fact, let's circle back and let's meet for the next month because I want to give you that support. I want to be that 360 feedback for you. Let's meet every Friday for the next month so we can review how your week went because we've got to correct immediately these two things that you just said. But know that I see you, I notice you, and I'm going to be your biggest fan. I know you can do this, and I'm going to provide you with what you need. But here's what I'm saying. I'm expecting improvement immediately. Maybe not the whole thing, but I'm expecting that I'm seeing. See, it's still feedback. It was negative feedback, but we couched it. It's called the sandwich method. Start with the positive, give the truth. John Maxwell says, candor and care and candor. We need to have both. As transformational leaders, we cannot be afraid to face the tough topics. But there's a way that we can do that I did not know in my early phases and stages. I just tell you what I need to tell you and then deal with it. Why are you crying?
It's your job anyway. It's your job anyway.
Why are you crying?
Doing it or you're not. Oh my goodness. Listen, Dr. Kenisha is doing so well. And let's give her some energy, okay? I want to see you in the chat. Do it for us. Let's do hashtag transformational leadership or hashtag transformation. Whatever you do, put something in the chat right now. Let's go. Do something in the chat. Let's put it in the chat, okay? We are looking at transformational leadership, and we are gaining inspiration from this book by Dr. Kenisha. And I have put the information in the chat, and I'll keep on doing that. You can get copies, and on her website too. The information is right there in the chat, and I'll do that. Let's talk about getting maybe the people that you're working with as a leader buy into maybe this big project that you dreamt of, and everybody's looking at you like, we are not sure about that. How can a leader go process this so that the dreams actually become realities?
Yeah, this is good. So the book addresses this. First of all, as leaders, we have to know that change is tough. Just for humans, period. Let's just embrace that and sit that for a second. Change is hard, whether it's personal change or change in the workplace. Now, as a leader, we want to make sure that we have a clear vision. That's one of the transformational leadership prongs. Like, what's the vision around what we're seeing as a leader, that leadership change? So having clarity of vision, acknowledging that change is difficult. How about this as a mantra, which I was not good at the beginning. I'm better now in phases and stages. How about getting input from your people before you bring it out to the whole team? How about I've got a vision and I bring in some early adopters around that and say, hey, okay, here, I think I have a big idea. I need to bounce some things. Do I have to do that as a leader? Technically, no. Is it transformational to do it? Absolutely, yes. Why? When we're trying to get people to buy into the vision, we need their input because they're going to see barriers. They're going to see pitfalls. They're going to see holes. They're going to get excited when they feel like they've given us some of that input. Wow. So we don't just say, here's the big vision, here's how it's going to go, and we start tomorrow. Now I had to learn this. I had to grow into this, but recognizing change is hard. Giving a clear vision, getting input from your people, going out there and maybe testing the market a little bit. Maybe going out there with a big idea and asking for your early adopters only. So check this out. It's not mandated. It's something that you're going to test for a little bit. And those who are ready for it, you give them opportunity. Input from people, from your team is critical if you want to be transformative. If you're autocratic like I used to be in my early phases and stages, you just make all the decisions. But if you want to be transformational, relationship and getting input from them, it's critical.
It's critical. Wow, wow, wow. We're still on this subject of the leader and their relationships with the people he's working with. What would be your ideas on a leader that seems disconnected from the people he is leading? Like maybe he's high or she is high up there somewhere, and the people are down there somewhere, and yet they are all working for the same cause, or supposedly working for the same cause. What would be your comments or ideas on that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give a blanket suggestion, but it really depends on, listen to this, how the disconnection came. Because sometimes leaders come in and they inherit disconnection. It's not at all the leader. It is they inherited a position and the former leader had a disconnect. And so that leader could come in and the people are like, whoa, who are you? Where'd you come from? No. So that could be a part of it. What I would say for me as a leader, really it starts in our own mind, in our heart, that the desire is there to get to know our team. Again, all things equal in a way that's professional. And the best way to do that is to do what? John Maxwell says, go out in the halls and walk slowly. That's one of the first ways. Just walk and talk to people. If you can. Now, you may say, I'm virtually. We're coming out of the pandemic. Walk and talk to them virtually. Walk and talk to them on the phone. Create an intentional plan to be able to connect with people. And I mean individuals. Be able to connect with teams, departments, right? Auxiliaries in a very intentional way. Giving personality style assessments, communication style assessments. It's one of the quickest ways for your team to get to know themselves individually, their own self-awareness, but for you to get to know them and for there to be team building is one of the quickest and best ways to do that. There are all kinds of things out there, but I do have one called the DISC personality style assessment, and it is great. Because now it's fun and barriers can fall. And now you've got a third point. You've got this 31 page document that you all can look at, right? So I'm not judging you per se. And we can all sort of lean in around that in a way that's safe, in a way that's fun. So being intentional, walking through the halls slowly, whether the halls are physical or virtual or telephonic, doesn't matter, that you're intentional about that. Really, if it's you in your own mind that's disconnected, you've got to pull down your high seat and get down on the level of the people.
So on a practical plan, on a practical way of approaching life and leadership, what are, let's say somebody has just taken up a new position and they are new. Like you said, some people inherit the disconnectedness and they have to navigate that process of reconnecting with the people they are working with. What are some of the practical steps that they can actually take? You talked about a plan. So how do we go about this plan of beginning those connections with the people we are working with, seeing that a transformational leadership is about those connections and being able to work with the people that we are working with with a special synergy that helps us to know them more as they know us better, and we just are able to serve them as they serve us. So what are some of those practical ways of doing that?
First of all, leader, get a coach or mentor to help you plan. The second practical step is decide what are you comfortable with sharing about your space, your life, your leadership history, if you have any, your family, your educational level, where you live, like all of these practical things that friends may know. You have to decide what level of comfort do you have and what you're going to share with them. Then the next thing is, what's going to be your plan with walking through the halls slowly? I suggest if it's in a brick and mortar, you physically do that, like for real. Like you set out time during the day to physically walk around, see what's there. I would ask questions, lots and lots of questions, because now you're honoring, if you're brand new, and honestly, whether you've been there for a while, like I was, and I just didn't know this, ask lots of questions. What types of questions? I don't know. It depends, right? What do you see as the strength of our organization? That's one question. What do you see as an area that our organization can grow? Then you can say, in the next 12 months, what barrier do you see will pop up? And then you can come up with the questions. The point of this is the connection. So you're walking about. The other thing that you can do that I think maybe one of my leaders told me this when I first started is maybe set up one-on-ones. Depending on how many people you have on your team. If you've got hundreds of people, then meet one-on-ones with your upline supervisors, right? And then they can duplicate that with theirs, but be intentional with one-on-ones. Why? Because when I know that you see me, there's a whole another level of relationship. When I know that you know that my name is Key Nisha, not Ka Nisha, and when I keep saying Key, you keep saying Ka. Now, I may not correct you, but when I know you're saying Key Nisha, that means I know you see me, you heard me, right? So,
Right.
so it's little practical things like that. And then if you have budget, right, then you can go off into the personality style to get to know them. Then you can give them budget, right? This is building a relationship. When you give me money to develop myself, I know you care. Because when I see you going off and I live in California and you're flying to New York for a one-day conference and you're coming back and you do that once a month. But when I ask to go to a workshop that costs $5, you say we don't have the budget for it. It's all of these things that's a relationship builder. Wow. When you make sure that, check this out, you're not going to think this is a relationship builder, but it is. When you have effective meetings, drop the mic. When you have effective meetings with an agenda that you stick to, and if you don't have to talk about it in the meeting, you send that as an informational email, people will have profound respect and relationships are built because now you're not wasting their time.
Right. Wow. Dr. Kenisha, this is not my favorite time of the show because guess what? I know. Okay. So it's either you're putting a question in the chat or you're putting a hashtag transformational leadership in the chat so Dr. Kenisha will know that you are here. Whether you're watching after the live, please put that in the chat. And also you can send us stars. Okay, send us stars. You can do Zelle, you can do Momo, you can do Cash App. All of those help to foster so that many other people can get this content. All right. I was so excited when I discovered we could actually get stars. I was like, how does this even work? So yeah, send us stars. So I was working with a coaching client. You talked about get a coach as the first. I was working with a coaching client. When was that? 2 weekends ago. And this person works in the medical profession and has had issues with this particular person that seems to, no matter what she does, not want to build a relationship. Like, you stay there, I will stay here, and no matter what you do. Would you say anything about a situation like that? And do you think a relationship is actually possible in a situation like that?
So yeah, I was that person. In my early phase and stage, I was that person. No, you're not going to. Remember, how old are you? Old enough to be your principal. No, I'm not connecting. You don't need to know this about me. You don't need to know that I was divorced. You don't need to know about my brother. No, I'm not doing that. So I was that person. So what I would say is to that person, just keep your own self in a stimulating environment of growth. And keep a coach, because it doesn't take the first time Folks, I'm talking about years. That's why the book is Phases and Stages, journeying. A journey is indicative that it's not a 5-minute walk, folks. A journey is indicative that it takes time, journeying through the phases and stages of leadership. So I don't judge you, leader, that's out there, because I was you years ago. Just keep your brain open, keep your heart open, keep yourself in an environment of growth. Listen to a podcast like this, challenge yourself, stay open to the challenge. Do a little bit, and then if you regress, I get it, no problem. But don't have your mind closed. That's the one thing I would say. Keep an open mind, because you have no idea the infrastructure that can change. If you, leader, that does not want to connect, if you are intentional about growing yourself.
Wow. Dr. Kenisha, it's that moment. But we are so grateful and so thankful. And there are people that are going to watch this just because it was Dr. Kenisha. What would be like your last words for this broadcast to the audiences, thousands of them that are going to be watching this in from the podcast, from YouTube, LinkedIn, and all those other places where we are throwing this content for free? What would be, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And thank you so much for helping us do this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What would you tell them? Because I'm putting this already in the chat and everything. They are going to find it. They can find you, but what would be your final words to them?
So more than buying my book, I'm not spend zero time on that. This world needs you, leader, aspiring leader. This world needs us as leaders to show up as our very best. All we have to do is turn on the TV, social media, and we see the calamity, folks, the leadership pandemic. We can see it. I beg you, I implore you to be intentional about growing yourself as a leader, showing up from a place of authenticity, transparency, and care about your people. When people feel cared for, when people feel like they have a leader that is transformed, they will do anything for you within reason and respectful. Let's put that in there. Isn't that what we want? Don't we want to move our teams and organizations forward? This isn't about us. This is about the destiny that your nonprofit, your church, your organization, your school district, your government agency, it's about advancing forward. And we have the privilege as leaders to be in charge of that. Go out there and be transformed, leader. Go out there and be honest with yourself, leader. Go out there and apologize to your team when you need to, transformational leader, because that's the significance that you have and you can have on this world. Again, I beg you, I ask you, be ye transformed. This world is waiting on us, transformational leaders. This world is waiting on us to rise up and to be people and leaders that other people can lean on and trust. And that happens when you and I, when we are transformed. Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives